as I think about it, I can't recall any figure in the modern history of technology who seems quite so unlikely a hero, a legend, as Steve Jobs. He's the wrong guy for the job, the wrong guy for the role. This is a man who wore his heart on his sleeve, who was insanely impractical, who simply refused to follow the logical, sensible course in business after business, in enterprise after enterprise. He would keep doing things that seemed absolutely crazy. The original Macintosh computer didn't have a hard drive inside it because Jobs just didn't like hard drives that much. If the standards of its aesthetics didn't quite measure up to what Jobs believed in, he'd say, we'll leave it out. I remember years ago writing a piece about the original iMac computer. That was the first big product that Apple released after Jobs' return to the company. And I talked about how, well, this thing's bound to fail. I mean, there are so many odd things about it. And one of the most odd was the fact that back in, was it 1998 or so when it came out, every computer had a floppy disk drive because millions of us owned billions of those disks and we had our files on them. Jobs brings out a new computer and he says, we're not going to include a floppy disk because those things are doomed. They're destined to go the way of the dinosaur. Nobody's going to be using them soon. I thought he was wrong to do it. Guess what? Nobody uses floppy drives anymore. I remember sitting at a Macworld convention and watching as he demonstrated the first laptop to have this interesting new technology built into it called Wi-Fi. That meant that that laptop could talk to the internet without actually having to have a wire plugged in. It was hilarious. He stood on the stage passing the computer through a hoop like a magician, showing, look ma, no wires. Wi-Fi wasn't invented by Apple. Other people could have done that. But he was the guy who realized almost the moment he saw it, this is going to be big and it's going to change the way people use computers. The thing about Jobs is he produced products that people fell in love with. He was the owner of a company called Pixar, which he had bought from George Lucas. Along comes Toy Story, a film with Jobs' guiding vision behind it. And for the first time, he produced a product where the guiding vision not only featured this amazing level of technical sophistication and excellence, it was state-of-the-art, it was the most advanced movie of its kind that had ever been made. From a technical point of view, it was just spectacular. But at the same time, people loved it. Not just because of the technology, not at all, but because it told this heartwarming, affecting, moving story, and a very funny story that people engaged with emotionally. They took it to their hearts. And that was the first time Jobs had managed to bring it all together. Now, I don't know exactly how that affected his thinking, but from that time forward, as he moves back into his involvement with Apple Computer, you start to see this series of amazing products which manage to do exactly the same thing. The first of them is the iMac, the computer that I at first thought wasn't going to go anywhere, but people loved it. And then, of course, you had the iPod. Think about that for a minute. By the time the iPod came out, there were plenty of these things on the market. But the iPod was the one with the combination of technical sophistication and beautiful design that made people fall in love with it. I was an iPod skeptic too. I said, wow, the first ones, remember, cost like about $500. And I said, who's going to pay $500 to carry their music around with them? Lots of people. Lots of people. And of course, we don't even have to say anything about the iPhone. Even I realized what an amazing breakthrough that was. There's work and there's life, and we keep them coldly separate. Jobs wasn't like that. He put everything he had into everything he made. He made himself extremely vulnerable. He publicly humiliated himself again and again and again. He failed again and again and again. I don't know that there's anybody out there who'd have the nerve to do anything quite like that again. I certainly hope that I'm wrong because, well, a world without Steve Jobs isn't going to be nearly as beautiful. And of course, it's not going to be anywhere near as much fun.